Watching news at Prime, let's bring you this discussion now. Transport Minister Barbara Creecy is promising that oversight and good governance will be central to the work of her department. She delivered her budget today in the portfolio in Parliament, and that's where she outlined her plans to modernise rail, expand aviation capacity and rebuild some key infrastructure. But opposition parties claiming there's a lack of a clear plan to turn the sector around. Let's discuss this now. And the Minister joins us from Cape Town this evening. Minister, good evening to you. A number of key areas I'd like to focus on, and so we'll move with speed. Let's start with Transnet. It's a known fact that its limitations has, particularly around its rail network and the ports, it's severely impacted the export commodities and therefore hobbling this country's economic growth. You're saying, though, today that there are some key announcements, particularly as it regards private sector participation. Tell us more.
Good evening and greetings to all your viewers. Yes, indeed. I think the problems in our freight logistics sector has been an abiding constraint on economic growth and job creation. We are moving with speed to involve third-party operators on the Transnet network. We issued the network statement in December and January. This is the menu and the price for those who want to participate in providing rail operations on Transnet's 5 priority corridors. We're also looking forward to the entity issuing requests for proposals for infrastructure investment on these same 5 priority corridors. But obviously, private sector participation will take time to be established and to reach financial close. And in the meantime, we do have to make sure that the entity is improving its maintenance. And in this regard, we have put in the first application to the budget facility for infrastructure this month. This is project-based blended finance. There will be another application in October. All in all, these applications will be between 30 and 35 billion rand. And the intention is to allow us to do some kind of short-term upgrades while we're waiting for the broader reform process, which will take more time.
Yeah. What will be of benefit to those private sector investors?
Well, I think obviously we've got 2 different types of private sector participation. The first is freight operators who would, in addition to Transnet Freight, who is the sole operator at the moment, who would be offering services to carry goods on the Transnet network. They would be guided by the interim economic regulator, the price per ton that has been decided on, so that there is a level playing field for all operators in the system. Those who might be interested in investing in infrastructure, it's possible that we could see concessions similar to the kind of concessions that we have on the SANRAL network. Obviously, the intention is that that infrastructure at Transnet would remain state-owned, although there could be this third-party participation.
I can't ignore, Minister, and I'm sure South Africans as well, the fact that we talk about Transnet. This week we saw some high-profile arrests of former senior executives. How difficult has it been for this entity to recover from the plunder that happened under these executives' watch?
Well, obviously, the courts will make decisions on the guilt or innocence of the executives. But what I can say is that the particular contract that is currently being dealt with as a result of this court case is the procurement of locomotives. This was a contract valued at about 93 billion rand. And because of the ongoing SIU investigations and the court processes, there are still a number of locos that we haven't taken delivery of. And of course, this particular contract is really responsible for the current debt that Transnet faces. So it has impacted severely on the organization, and it will remain a legacy issue that will need to be dealt with going forward.
Let's talk about the airports company South Africa, AXA for short. Some key investments, and these will go towards upgrading and expansions at various airports such as OR Tambo, Cape Town and King Shaka. There's a specific one I'm hoping to ask about, Minister, and that is Mthatha. Is there any plans for that particular airport? Because there are suggestions that there's a lot of traffic going that route.
Well, Mthatha Airport is not actually one of the AXA airports. It's an airport that is owned by the Mthatha municipality. Obviously, if the municipality or the Eastern Cape government decided that they would want AXA to take it over, that's something that could be given consideration. But at this stage, it's not one of the airports that are within the AXA network.
Very interesting indeed. Okay. Let's talk then about some of the glitches that we saw, particularly at OR Tambo International Airport, although the CEO was reassuring the commuters that things are going to run smoothly. And while you respond to that, Minister, talk as well about the air navigation services. Those have been topical in the recent past because of the glitches at some of the airports.
Well, my understanding is the frustrations passengers have experienced over the last few days with regard to the safety facilities at OR Tambo International is as a result of service providers believing that their contract had come to an end. The CEO shared with me that this contract has, a new service provider has not been appointed, and they have extended the tenure of the existing service provider. There was miscommunication around this, so I had asked her to return to OR Tambo as urgently as possible and make sure that everything was sorted out. I think in the budget today, what we were announcing is upgrades to airports, but also the construction of a new freight terminal at OR Tambo. 95% of the country's freight goes out through OR Tambo International Airport. This is an important economic activity, and with the increasing demand for air freight services, we believe this is a business that we can grow substantially over the next 4 years, and so the new terminal is really important. With regard to the air traffic navigation services, we've been working on 4 work streams. The first is making sure that we recruit highly skilled air traffic navigators and related services. I'm pleased to report that we have now got 37 people that are going through verification processes. We've re-established the trainee pipeline because South African trained air traffic navigators are in great demand internationally, and we have to make sure that we have a constant supply for ourselves. We are also working with all the OEMs to make sure that we upgrade the communication systems, and I'm pleased to announce that the radar system is in the procurement process. We've also dealt with safety findings and closed out findings in safety audits, and we're in the process of establishing a project office so that we must be able to deal with all the flight procedures and bring that particular unfortunate chapter to a close.
The last topic I'd like to explore with you, Minister Creecy, has to do with the Road Accident Fund. And I'm aware that you intend to bring back what is called the Road Accident Fund Benefit Scheme Bill. And this, you are hoping, is going to end the exorbitant payment to those who are wealthy. While that is probably going to be a welcome development, Minister, there has been a lot of back and forth about this entity and whether it is bankrupt or not. The CEO, who's now on suspension, will tell us that no, the Road Accident Fund is not, in fact, bankrupt. You tell us tonight, is this entity insolvent?
This entity receives regular payments from the fuel allowance. The fuel levy, which all of us pay every time we fill up our motor vehicles with fuel. I think the concern that we all have is that because of the fight that the entity picked with the Auditor General, we don't have a proper quantification of the contingent liability that the state faces. And so this is why you can have a he said, she said situation with regard to whether it's solvent or not solvent. But I think the key issue is that those who have been involved in road accidents are waiting an inordinately long period of time to receive their benefits. Yeah. And you spoke about the importance of having a schedule of benefits. What's also important is that we need a no-fault system so that people who can't afford private lawyers can also claim easily from the scheme, provided they can prove that they've been involved in a road accident. And I think that it's these frustrations that we really need to solve in the organization. We also urgently need to deal with the governance processes there. And this is a matter that myself and the Deputy Minister are giving a great deal of attention to, and we do hope in the not too distant future to be able to make announcements in that regard.
Yeah. The running of this entity, Minister Creecy, has left a lot to be desired, and that's why Parliament now has stepped in to say we actually are mounting an inquiry into this. It's not a witch hunt, the chairperson of SCOPA was heard saying this week, but we are seeking some real answers. Can I ask you tonight to tell us whether you believe one individual is responsible for, I'm not going to say the collapse because that sounds almost alarming or alarmist, but he is on suspension, Collins Letswalo, the CEO. What do you believe should have been the role of the board, and how much responsibility should they take for where this entity is right now, to a point where Parliament is mounting an investigation?
Well, I think that when I say to you we're dealing with the governance problems, obviously the board has an important role to play in the effective governance of the organization. So I think that there are management difficulties in the organization. There are also governance difficulties in the organization, and this is why the Deputy Minister and myself are giving this urgent attention.
Minister Creecy, thank you very much for your time.